Lance Stroll's newest crash in China has made him one of the most talked about race car drivers again, but for all the wrong reasons. After watching the video from inside his Aston Martin race car, it was clear that he wasn't paying attention and wasn't acting like a professional after the crash. This is something that should never be okay in Formula One racing. With this in mind, should Aston Martin already think about a time when the father and son team of Lawrence and Lance won't be such a big part of the team's success? And is there any chance that Honda could push the investors in the right direction? The Chinese race had several crashes, and one of them was weirder than all the rest. Lance Stroll crashed right into the back of Ricciardo's car during the safety car period. The excuse that Stroll gave was just as weird as the crash itself. He said Ricciardo hit his brakes in front of him, so he crashed into the back. He wasn't paying enough attention to the cars ahead, but was looking at the curb, which was still far away from him. This is definitely not the right thing to do when you have cars packed so tightly together ahead of you during safety car time. To make things even worse, Lance Stroll blamed Ricciardo for the crash, and even after watching the video, he didn't show good sportsmanship and say sorry to the Australian driver. When talking about it, Lance said someone hit the brakes at the front of the group. He doesn't know who, and that everyone stops. The car in front of him just stopped from like 60 to 0, so it was a really stupid crash. It was one of those crashes where he thinks the punishment is just because he hit the guy, but someone hit the brakes and caused the problem. Though he doesn't know who, Stroll was also heard calling Ricciardo an idiot over the radio, but the Canadian driver said that wasn't meant directly towards the Australian driver, but more towards whoever slammed on the brakes in front of him. We must also remind you that there were two more drivers ahead of Ricciardo, Piastri, and Russell, and none of them crashed into each other, which is something that the Australian driver has pointed out as well. Ricciardo's response is something that made the entire F1 world go wow, because for you to make the honey badger angry and swearing at you, then the situation has definitely gotten out of control. When talking about this situation from his point of view, Ricciardo slammed Stroll for his actions and went on to say it's a restart and, we don't know what the leader is going to do, so you have to be as careful as ever and be ready for any situation. He could see it was bunching up into the hairpin turn, so obviously everyone is slowing down. But then how hard he hit him and basically put half his car under his... It wasn't small like a judgment error. He was way off for Ricciardo. There's no excuse for that. He thinks what is frustrating is that he watched Lance's onboard video and he is not even looking at him. You can see his helmet and he is looking at the corner turn, so he doesn't know why he is not looking at the car in front unless his eyes are doing something funny. The situation got even worse because Aston Martin supported Stroll and said that the punishment he got was too harsh. A 10-second penalty which he served in the pit stop and one that left him at the back of the starting grid. However, the situation is loud and clear. Stroll is at fault here, and even though the team is planning to build the future around him, we can safely assume it won't bring them a lot of joy as the new partnership with Honda is coming around. The corner. As of now, Stroll has scored only 9 of the 40 points that Aston Martin have in 2024, and compared to Alonso, that is more than 3 times the difference. As a matter of fact, with such a poorly performing Mercedes, Aston Martin was supposed to be the stronger customer team, but they cannot rely on Alonso's performance purely. Even with Hamilton fighting for speed and getting out of the first qualifying round, finishing 9th place is enough to get good points and stay ahead of Aston Martin, unless Alonso finds performance out of nowhere and starts getting podium finishes all on his own. But as much as this is a huge uncertainty, there's almost a guarantee that Lance Stroll's competitiveness won't change in the upcoming period, mostly because of the comfort zone he's been placed in. You can see by the comments made from Mike Crack, the team boss, that there is zero to no hesitation when it comes to defending Stroll's actions, which are totally unfounded and have been made due to plain lack of attention on the track. Be that as it may, Crack still went on to stand behind his driver, and when talking about this, he said it was a very quick decision on Stroll's penalty without really understanding the situation. He thought it was a very fast and very harsh quick decision. He thinks it was a chain reaction at the end of the day. You saw Alonso locking up in another car behind, and he thinks everybody was a little bit caught out there. He would have liked that this would have been looked at in a little bit more detailed way. They tried to discuss it, but the decision was very quickly that Lance was to blame, and he got a 10-second penalty additional to the front wing damage. But after Stroll hit Ricciardo, it's worth mentioning that the front of the Australian's car ended up in the back of his fellow countryman's ride, Oscar Piastri, who almost suffered from terminal damage on his car as well. The damage that Piastri suffered on his car was more than enough for him to be non-competitive and barely keep Hamilton behind, but he lost the spot to Alonso, who was charging on new tires from behind in the closing stages of the race. Be that as it may, Mike Crack feels that Stroll's reaction was right, because had he been too careful, he would have lost a car's length, because you cannot predict when to speed up at the perfect moment. So, situations like this have happened in the past and will continue to happen as long as racing is present, regardless. There is a very big question that Aston Martin needs to answer here. Does the future lie with Lance Stroll? It's clear that he is holding back the entire project that his father is heavily invested in. And after bringing Honda, as well as separating the wind tunnel facilities from Mercedes and building a new one in Silverstone, the future of Aston does seem very bright. But not with Lance on the team. This is why there was so much excitement when the two-time world champion extended the contract with the Silverstone-based team, because everyone knows that if there comes an opportunity in which Aston will fight for wins, that would definitely be the other driver than Lance, since the Canadian is just not feeling any pressure to perform better and prove that he can be a lot more competitive than what he is now. But I guess having your father as your boss is something that comes with its own perks, and according to Mike Crack, the reason why they're keeping Lance is because of his technical knowledge and the fact that this entire project is built around him. Getting the technical information out of a driver's knowledge is something that can be done in the simulator or in another racing category. However, that would be a direct blow to both Lawrence and Lance Stroll's pride. But as of now, the team is stuck in a loop in which the owner is not willing to let go of his son, while his son is not eager to improve his performance due to the public statements that his father has made. As long as he is the owner of the team, that seat will be secured. Therefore, the only hope lies with Honda, with their boss saying loud and clear that he does not intend to fight in the midfield with Aston Martin and wants to continue the winning dominant streak that they're currently in with Red Bull. This is why Honda held long talks with Fernando Alonso regarding the future of the team and the drivers' lineup. And now that they've gone over the issues that hurt their performance in 2017, it's safe to assume that Honda would be taking care of one of their academy drivers, with the priority being given to Yuki Tsunoda. But considering the fact that Aston Martin's stance won't change anywhere in the near future, it would be smart to assume that Lawrence Stroll would be forced to have a lot of awkward talks with his son, because the situation is changing drastically in the team, and these changes could affect Lance very negatively. His bad performance could not only push away Honda, but also potential investors that saw a lot of potential in the project that Fernando Alonso has fallen in love with as well. With all this in mind, do you think that Lance's time in Aston Martin is coming to an end? And more importantly, do you think that Honda will be pushing forward to get Tsunoda in that seat as soon as possible? Let us know in the comments below.